Hello. Welcome to...
So you have a pretty good synopsis of it.
I do, indeed. To the joy of comic fans everywhere, Peter Parker's miserable again, watching stunning spider vision as he walks around, talks to his favorite cop on the phone, cries a little bit, and watches his buddies on Instagram. When a mysterious new enemy learns how to win friends and influence people, Peter has to reconsider whether being an incel was the best choice. Also, he's got spider... Hold on. What's it called?
Like organic webbing?
No, what's it called when you become a man?
Puberty?
He's got spider puberty.
Whoa!
This is a new film from director Destin Daniel Cretton, who made Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings. And let's just get our immediate thoughts right out of the way.
It feels really good to go see a Marvel movie and it just feel like a movie.
Yeah.
You know, there's that whole thing with Martin Scorsese saying, oh, these aren't films, they're more like entertainment. And I disagree with that. But what I can agree with is maybe at the heart of what he's saying is Marvel movies tend to have a very formulaic way of storytelling.
They're very assembly line.
Yes. And it's like you see one, you can almost see a lot of them. And, you know, they have it to where they have these jokes put in. It doesn't give you time to just digest with the any impactful or emotional scene that's happened. And this finally takes the brakes on that. And you know, the emotional points stick. And they don't throw a joke in there. Maybe just like one time, but for the majority of it, they let it sit with you, and you can absorb that, and it helps you, understand like the situation right now is dire or whatever. I really liked it. I liked the chemistry with all the cast members. I thought everybody played off of each other very, very well. The new Spidey suit is great.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Really, Spider-Man just felt like Spider-Man to me.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the best live-action Spider-Man movie since 2004.
You seem very okay to me.
I think this movie did so much for me. One of the things it really does is it kind of pays off the premise of what the MCU was always supposed to be to me, in that it is a movie that really does have this feeling of an interconnected universe, and that's actually meaningful in this. And thank goodness this is a movie that has themes. There's ideas behind it, and they're actually communicated well. And all of the characters and all of the scenes, for the most part, are built with that theme and with that inner conflict for Peter in mind. It puts him through the ringer, which I think a good Spider-Man story should do.
Oh, yeah.
It's got great...
That good old Parker luck.
Absolutely. It's got great performances. It's visually really great. Destin Daniel Cretton, they need to do whatever they need to do to get him to direct as many of these as possible, because the man has the sauce. He knows what to do visually. It's a great looking movie, maybe the best looking Spider-Man movie, full stop. Possibly, at least. I'm not sure about that, but it's close if it's not.
For sure, since the MCU has been a thing.
Absolutely. It just really works. It's a great script. It's a great direction, and a lot of credit goes to the movie for balancing so many characters and ideas, because I think the movie could have been a mess, and probably was a mess at certain points of production, but they pulled together a very cohesive project. As far as issues go, I've got nitpicks. I've got little things that bug me a little bit. The one thing I'll say is that this is a movie that does a lot of setup. I feel like the MCU has a big setup movie every couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I think they have mixed success with that, because sometimes they focus too much on the setup and the movie suffers as a result.
This was the best implementation of setup for me.
I agree.
It felt the most natural.
My only problem with it is we have the looming specter of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, which means it's probably going to be 2+ years before we see any follow-up on the stuff set up here, which isn't the fault of the movie, but it is unfortunate. You've got such great momentum for a ton of characters and a ton of ideas that will likely be a big deal in the MCU going forward, and it feels like we're pumping the brakes immediately to go play with Robert Downey Jr. in his toy box. And like, I'm excited for Doomsday. I think it'll be a fun mess, but like, this was like a good movie, and I want to see more of that. And I feel a little bit frustrated that we kind of have to deal with. It's not the fault of the movie, but it is something that I think if you're doing an MCU watch through, it would be a little jarring.
There are things in the movie that feel like after they happen, the stakes and the threat get taken away. And that would be, again, not a big con. Comic books in general, and that's my other complaint, is I love comic books, but sometimes comic books can be too comic booky for their own good. And I thought there were instances in Brand New Day where it was just a little too comic booky.
I'll have to agree to disagree with you on that one. I did have one other issue. This is kind of a long movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that, which isn't terrible, but it is a bit of a time investment. And one thing that I think suffers a little bit from the sheer volume of stuff they had to put in this movie is that there's some quality of life scenes that they had to cut. Just because if they didn't, the movie would be 3 hours long. There's just small world-building things that would have been nice, I think, just for the sake of making everything flow a little bit better. And I think they were probably the right decision to cut in favor of the emotional stuff and in favor of all of the world-building they're trying to do. Little things like, we don't know what Peter Parker does for work in this movie.
Pizza time.
And I think that would have been nice. It's not necessary, but it hurts the feeling of the movie a little bit.
That's something that the Raimi movies did so good.
I agree.
On making both Spider-Man and Peter feel well-lived.
It's not huge, but I think if there's ever an MCU movie that needs a director's cut, I think this one could benefit from even an extra 5 minutes would probably be enough to fix some of those quality of life issues.
Which is funny because I think there's some things they could have taken out. But no, overall, great movie. Love the direction they're going with it, and I want them to maintain that feel of just watching a movie and not a Marvel movie per se. The Marvel movies that we've become accustomed to for the past 20 years.
Yeah, this was a movie. It reminds me so much of the Sam Raimi movies because it is a film, I think, first and foremost. It's not a Spider-Man movie. It's a movie about Spider-Man.
Yes.
And that seems like a distinction without a difference, but it really isn't, and you can really tell.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
I loved the beginning of the movie, the montage of Peter going and just taking down his rogues gallery. And it goes by like 4 or 5 years from like when the movie first opens to the end of this montage. You have MJ and Ned going to MIT.
Finishing school.
Yeah, finishing school. And all the while, Peter's keeping track of them, which is tragic.
Yeah, it is.
They hammer it that there was consequence to the end of No Way Home. And I love that.
Come on, pretend like you're not the happiest you've ever been in your entire life.
I can't.
One of my favorite bits in that little kind of opening thing is we get him walking into his apartment, and this girl comes up to him, and she's like, "Oh, I recognize you. We live on the same floor." And then he moves somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Where nobody else is. And I think that's so interesting because it shows how thick his walls are at this point in the story. I don't interpret that as he's afraid of hurting somebody by being connected to them. I think he's afraid of hurting himself.
And then that leads us into this big heist against the Department of
Damage
Control, which is hilarious.
Peter is chasing down this truck that is breaking...
This big tank.
Yeah, this tank that's breaking into the Department of Damage Control. Just in the process of dealing with this tank, he runs into the Punisher. And I think that's such a nice use of a character like that. It's like the Punisher would be running around New York, and he would care about a tank coming by. And it makes perfect sense that Peter would cross paths with him in this moment. And I love that they just kind of skipped the idea of having to introduce them just at some point in the last 5 years.
They've known each other.
Yeah. It's very cool. I like the Punisher a lot in this movie. The Punisher has kind of a similar arc to Peter in this movie. He's so walled off because of everything that makes him the Punisher. And he's so set in his ways, and those ways get challenged over and over and over again by the events of this movie. And I think he's the perfect person to almost be like, not quite the co-lead, but like...
He's up there.
He's up there, yeah. He's almost the co-lead of the movie because so many of the set pieces revolve around him or Spider-Man. I think that's really cool. I love the emotional journey he goes on in this movie because at the beginning of the movie, he shoots Peter point blank in the chest with a shotgun. Obviously knowing Peter can tank it, but still, by the end of the movie, he is trying to take out Jean Grey because she's in the process of being captured. She has expanded her powers and is threatening like a huge chunk of New York.
As far as Punisher knows, a 1 kilometer radius of people are just frozen in place.
And it's because of Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So he goes in to take her out. Spider-Man takes the bullet for her. And Punisher is like deeply affected by this. He's crying and stuff. It's really gripping stuff. And John Bernthal does a great job with that material. And I think the idea of Peter unlocking Punisher's ability to care about other people and to let people into himself a little more, I think that's so great. And
It's part of Peter's superpower.
It is. It speaks to what's special about Peter, and it speaks to what's special about the Punisher. I just think it's great writing for him, and I think Bernthal does a great job.
And I like it that it doesn't take it so far where Punisher's like, I'm never going to pick up a gun again.
No.
You get the sense that he's going to be way more careful and calculated going forward without it just destroying who the Punisher is.
Oh, he's definitely going to kill people. He's
Yeah.
just going to be probably not like a teenager. And I
Right.
love the scene. It's so goofy, but the scene of Punisher helping Peter escape from the hospital by putting on the Spider-Man costume
Yeah.
and pretending to be him. It's so sweet. It's like, it's just cool.
You're the only one who's immune to it. You're the only one who can sense it.
Sadie Sink is phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah.
She's Jean Grey. We all knew she was Jean Grey. You really buy the threat of Jean Grey. You buy the power of her. And I think a lot of that comes from the gravitas she brings to the role. But you also get this very hurt child, which is what she's not really a child, but you know what I mean.
I think that's one of the things where people are forgetting. I've seen people commenting, reviewing the movie, saying, oh, she is not a good person. She's probably killed multiple people, is doing these very like villainous acts. But you have to remember 2 things. One, she's just a teenager.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't have the world figured out. It's on top of, you know, we find out that Jean Grey is looking for her sister who was taken while they were, you know, this is where we start getting the story and world building and set up in this movie of setting up the mutants. And I thought they did such a good job on showing like, okay, their mom found out they were mutants and basically pushed them out of the house. It's like, okay, that's a very, very X-Men-y thing to have happen to mutants. It's a very good setup. And then government comes and takes the sister away. Again, another great setup of, you know,
the government are against the mutants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite educational. However, it fails to address the issue that is the focus of this hearing. 3 words. Are mutants dangerous?
She's going to find her sister, and at this point, her sister is all she has left. That's the only person who can connect with her. That's like her motherly figure. If you were a teenager with these powers who just had their sister taken away from them, who just had their own mother shove them out of the house, I could totally see her doing these things and not understanding that those are villainous, but just a way to get to her sister.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing this movie does really well with your X-Men setup is I think sometimes with the X-Men, it's almost hard to justify why the Marvel Universe writ large is so, like, against them. This movie, I think, does a great job of showing why the concept of mutants would be something that people don't like. Because she's honestly kind of terrifying in the movie.
Yeah.
There's in the third act, the big set piece is she basically freezes all of New York. She could theoretically kill everybody in that space, which is a lot of people. And that's terrifying, and it's a level above a lot of the other telepath type characters that we've seen in these movies before.
One of the most crushing things in the movie was the whole VMAX. Jean is constantly after finding out what VMAX is. And
Yep.
we learned that Jean's sister Sarah died, and she had one last explosion of power.
Brain blast!
Brain blast! that Jean got, and it was VMAX. When Jean gets captured and she's in this testing room, she looks up and there's this air vent that just says VMAX, and it's like Sarah was being tortured to the point where her last impulse was just of the thing she was looking at. It wasn't even like, Jean, I love you, this is where I'm at. It was just VMAX. It was like her brain synapses were just going crazy. And that's when Jean wakes up.
Yep.
You know, that's where
And
she gets this
becomes
insane...
incredibly powerful.
Yeah, this is where, before with like the 30-foot body hopping or whatever, it was like, okay, that's an interesting take on her power. You truly get this Omega level threat whenever she wakes up.
And like all of Manhattan is affected as a result. It's great stuff.
It's crushing.
It is crushing, yeah. It's such good writing. Again.
Oh, see, you stumbled across my board. I'm not one of those weirdos, I swear.
We've talked about, I think, two of our big Marvel characters. We've had the Punisher and Jean Grey. There's two more in this movie. There's the Hulk, and then there is Black Widow, Yelena, whatever her last name is.
Romanoff,
sure. Yelena's a little bit weird. Her inclusion doesn't really work for me. There's two scenes in the movie where Peter kind of reaches out to her. And once he goes to like a bathhouse, which is apparently where her office is, and they just have this very awkward thing where she makes him like get naked or whatever, except for his mask and maybe his underwear on.
Yeah.
And he has to get in the bath with her.
It was like the costume from the first Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
It was.
It's fine, but it's like, is it supposed to be fan service, I guess? I don't know. It's very awkward, and it doesn't
Tom
really...
Holland must work out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But, I don't know. It's awkward. It doesn't really fit in the movie all that well because unlike The Punisher, where it feels very natural that Peter knows this guy and they've had history, here he's just going to the Black Widow house to establish he knows her because they're not going to have time to set that up during Doomsday or Secret Wars. That's what it feels like to me. And it doesn't really make sense why he'd be asking her the questions he is because... I don't know. In Thunderbolts, do they talk to Damage Control? Is that like an established thing? She knows anything about them?
I don't know. I actually haven't seen Thunderbolts. It's on our list to watch.
It is, yeah.
But that was when we were talking about earlier on including things like, okay, how does Peter get an income? What does he do for a job? They could have taken those scenes out with Yelena and put in those more personal scenes.
It would
for
have
him.
been helpful.
It would have been. Yeah.
He could have had the Punisher know the same information.
And she just goes around and says, hey, talk to the people you're
already going to go talk to. Yeah, it's not very helpful.
Didn't really do anything.
She has like a FaceTime call with Peter later too, and that doesn't really work either. I don't know. It feels like the most blatant setting up for Doomsday that there is in this movie, other than the post-credit scene.
And just a reminder of like, please go back and watch Thunderbolts.
And I like Florence Pugh. I think she's fine in that role, and I think it's cool to have her as kind of one of the linchpin characters going forward. But she didn't need to be in this movie.
No.
Me, Dr. Banner, I need your help.
What did you say your name was? If DNA is mutating, it would be enormously dangerous.
He basically goes to where Dr. Banner is working, and of course Dr. Banner has no idea who Peter is because of the spell, and we see this inhibitor, like a gamma control mechanism on his hand.
Big old gauntlet
thing.
thing.
That basically keeps Banner controlled.
And it is a little bit of a reboot of the arc he's been on. We've seen a lot of this before, but I like him teaching at a university. That feels like a classic setting for Banner to be at. It almost, again, kind of speaking of the Raimi things, it harkens a little bit back to...
Connor.
Yeah, Peter talking to Dr. Connors, even though the Lizard's not in Spider-Man 3 or any of those. It's kind of neat that his professor just happens to be Dr. Connors. It's cool he asks Banner for help. we have the inhibitor thing, and Peter gets inspired by this, and he goes home and builds a universal inhibitor. Now, if you're an X-Men fan, that should freak you out a little bit.
Have you tried not being a mutant?
I think making him tangentially responsible for some of the things that will likely happen to the X-Men down the line.
And it was one of those innocent things.
Yeah.
He was trying to, he was doing something that he thought would help people, which, you know, if you know the mutants and the X-Men, they don't want those, for the most part, they don't want those inhibitor chips or the collars.
No, but it's very true to life. A lot of things like that don't start out with the goal of, well, let's commit genocide.
Again, it's kind of following with Tony Stark's, with you know, in the comics, Hank Pym is the one who made Ultron, but in the MCU,
it's Tony.
Tony made Ultron for a good purpose, and then it turned into something bad. It's kind of, again, foiling with Peter. Has this inhibitor chip. He's trying to do different versions of it. They keep on failing. Then he starts getting used to his new organic webbing and calming his senses down. I like him relearning how to web swing. You know, stop, and go. You know, that was fun.
It's fun. It's charming. We never got to see that from his Peter.
Yeah.
He was already pretty much knew how to use his powers by the time we saw him.
So he's kind of trying to test out these different inhibitors, and then he goes and realizes, oh crap, Jean Grey is going to go after MJ, and I got to go to MJ and essentially save her. It's one of those things where he's like, crap, this is happening, but you could also tell he's like, yes, I go get to see her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way they use MJ from here on out is really cool, because Jean possesses her, she kisses Peter.
That was tragic.
That was great.
Peter wants to believe so hard that MJ remembers him and that they're going to be in love forever. He kisses her, it's everything he wanted, and then Jean's like, ha, it was me. I love how later in the movie, he apologizes to MJ of like, hey, when you were being mind controlled, she kissed me and I kissed you back. It's like, he's just a good guy.
I'm late. It's a jungle out there. I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries.
So we get MJ, or Jean Grey possessing MJ. Turns out MJ doesn't remember Peter. They go back to the Punisher's lair because, of course, Punisher's the only person who can protect MJ at this point in Peter's head, which I like. You know, it's like, out of everybody I'm going to send my girl to, it's going to be the guy who'll kill anybody.
Yes. And I know he'll do it because he does have this begrudging respect for me.
Yes.
And then later we get this great set piece with the Hulk, where Jean Grey possesses Banner, uses him to become the Hulk. We see Professor Hulk for like 2 seconds before Banner gets mad and just becomes real Hulk.
That was cool. I love that transformation because, you know, he's already a big guy, and then you get into this like ultra. It was almost like what is it? Not Primal Prime, the Gorilla Optimus Prime.
Oh,
like the
Primal. What is his name?
For the OSAP program for Bass. Right.
UFO stuff.
For Bass. Is it just Optimus Primal?
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah. No, it's very much Optimus Primal Hulk, and I love it.
I like that Peter just doesn't even have a chance against him. Like, he beats him, sort of, but pretty much just by... It's kind of implied that the Hulk was not affected by Doctor Strange's spell, because Peter just tells him, like, it takes his mask off, hey, it's me, it's Peter, and the Hulk just stops fighting him.
Oh, I didn't pick that up. You're right. He looks at it in his eyes. To me, it was almost like, oh, Hulk friend, you know, but it could have been reminiscent.
To me, it was that the Hulk is like a separate entity from Banner, and if Banner had been repressing Hulk at the time the spell went off,
that's cool.
Then Hulk probably wasn't affected by it.
That's cool. I didn't think about that.
So I think that'd be a neat thing to follow up on. We get a great setup for whatever they're going to do with Hulk later, because he's like in a mental institution now because he's so messed up by what happened to him in this movie. That's great. That's classic Hulk stuff. Yeah. I want more of that and less.
I see this as an absolute win.
One of my favorite parts about that was when Punisher is all you can do is shoot the Hulk.
Yeah.
And he was screaming. It's like, ah!
It's so good. I love it.
It's like it's almost like in video games when you press the button harder. It's like it doesn't do anything when you're trying to do it. It's not like the bullets would fire faster with him screaming. It was fun.
And Spider-Man's like, what are you even doing here? This is like so far beyond what you're capable of handling.
That was a hard reality check.
It was great. I loved it.
My biggest gripe is like the comic bookiness coming in, almost like a MacGuffin a little bit of just like, oh, Peter's smart, here's super cool tech. He doesn't have a job, but he has this insane 3D printer that, you know, he's able to build these chips with. You have, you know, MJ later just so happening to know all about biogenetics. You're like, oh, I was going to major, before I majored in astrophysics or whatever, I was going to be a biologist, and I happen to know all these things. It's like, no, college doesn't do that. Just because you go to college, it's far from meaning you get to know everything. And that's one of those things where I just didn't buy it. It took me out a little bit. And that was like a comic booky thing of, oh, I studied in college, I have all these knowledge. Like, no, you don't.
I understand your criticism with her being too smart, and I think that is, I pushed back on it because it's not a big a problem for me, but I think it's a reasonable critique.
And I kind of want to throw out there, I don't necessarily have a problem with MJ being smart or whoever. I just have a problem with, you know, it almost felt like more of like a MacGuffin.
I can agree with that.
You know, we need somebody to help fix this. MJ's got it. It's like, what? College taught you that?
Yeah. But I really liked her in this movie. I thought she has pretty decent chemistry with Spider-Man, especially as a version of her that's not supposed to know as much about him.
Yeah.
I like her place in the story. I like that they're not fixing the MJ Peter thing right away.
Yes.
They're going to let that breathe for a while. I do think that's ultimately the end game for the character, and I think it would be a little bit silly for it not to be. Like, and like her with him, I think that makes sense. They're a power couple in real life. MJ is endgame for Spider-Man in the comics, unless you're Marvel editorial, in which case, meet me outside. But like, it makes sense. It's where we're going, but we're going to take our time getting there. And I think that pays respect to the stakes of No Way Home, even though in some way what this trilogy might be doing is kind of walking back some of that.
I still like it when stakes have meaning.
Well, I think it has meaning this way. It's been 5 years of his life being radically different than it was otherwise.
Yeah, but the more you walk it back, the less that future stakes are going to feel like threatening.
Well, we're already there. We undid the snap 7 years ago.
I guess that's why nothing feels like a big...
I can get with that. I think any long-running series like this with science fiction elements, on some level, you have to leave the door open for science fiction elements to happen.
I'm alive! Imbecile.
I've seen some people criticize the final act of this movie.
I love it.
I love it too. I think it's perfect. I think it's the best final act of these Spider-Man movies because it avoids the trope of, well, we're just going to punch our way to the conclusion.
You remember earlier when the superhero genre was past its introductory phase, we had like Fan Four Stick, like the first Iron Man, they all kind of ended with this big blue light in the sky.
Big gray boy, you fight the gray guy.
Yeah. And this is like, okay, we already had our really cool battle. Let's take it slow. Yeah. And that's so Peter. Peter's not this big, oh, Manhattan's going to be destroyed, the world's going to be destroyed kind of guy. No. He's very much street level. And he doesn't just go punch bad guy. It's okay. My brother said it best. He did the talk no jutsu.
I know that feeling. I've been there.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's like, okay, Gene, you want to get in my mind? I'm gonna let you in my mind.
Yeah, and we get this great scene with Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, who like, ever since she died, she felt a lot more like Aunt May to me. She was really great in this scene. Yeah. I wish we'd gotten more of that while she was a living character. But what she does here is very nice. It's very effective. I love that Peter lets her finish her thing, and then he sits with Jean, and he's the person that delivers the final emotional blow.
Jean needs a mother. You know, her own mother kicked her out. This is her mother figure talking to her, talking just sense. That's when I disagree with people on saying Jean was an absolute villain. She's just a teenager who's trying to find her sister, where the whole world's thrown her out. She needed Aunt May to just bring her back in.
And then Peter's there to bring it home.
Yes.
And I think it's such a great use of Peter Parker because he is different than the Punisher. The Punisher would solve problems by shooting Jean Grey, right? The Punisher would solve things by beating up the bad guy. And that's fine, and I think there's a place for that. Like, obviously there's a place for that, you know? But in this particular story, it would just feel flat if the end of the movie was he had to go fight Tombstone.
This movie almost brought me to tears with that scene of Aunt May.
Yeah.
And then with her, so Punisher does his Punisher thing, shoots. Peter, having his spider senses, realizes there's a bullet coming.
Takes it.
Takes the bullet for her, which is amazing.
Perfect Spider-Man move.
And then you find out that he would have died if Jean hadn't like breathed for him. It's just like, that was so sweet. There's so many sweet moments in this movie, and that was just like, I was like, man.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. I love her as the antagonist in this movie. I think it is so weird to say, it is the best choice they could have made at this point in Spider-Man's history. Spider-Man 375, 1992, the 30th anniversary special. There's a couple of stories in there, but my favorite is called True Friends. And it's this story of Spider-Man just recounting his history with the Human Torch, with Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm, for some reason or another, has gone crazy. He set fire to Empire State University. People are out looking for him. And Spider-Man's trying to decide if he wants to get involved or not. And he has this whole rundown of like the top 5 moments in their friendship. And he comes to the conclusion of like, this is my guy. I'm a ride or die for him. I'm going to do everything in my power to find him before the people that want him dead find him and figure out what's wrong with him so I can help him. And I feel like that's such Spider-Man stuff. Like just the idea of like, hey, yes, I'm Spider-Man, I can punch the guy. I'm also going to be here for you. I'm going to sit with the sick kid and show my mask. And I'm going to be the superhero that is there for you on the inside and not just
superficial.
Yeah. Whatever creative team made this, I hope they make more of the MCU going forward, not just Spider-Man. I hope the X-Men have as much thought into their treatment as Jean Grey had here, because that could be a really special project. Braden, you want to give your final thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Yeah, it was great. I feel like I don't want to be giving out too many of these, but I'm going to give it a must-watch once with the modifier of genre fans only. And the reason why I say that is this movie does require a lot of background history with the Spider-Man character. I really think it's a must-watch once. We've had a few great movies that we've watched recently.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
As far as Spider-Man Brand New Day is concerned, I think this is a really slick movie with great visuals, a really smart script, a handful of really tremendous performances, and a handling of the MCU I've really not seen that much before, despite the whole premise of the MCU being a, like, interconnected universe. This one does it so well. I think it's a movie that sets up some really great stuff for the future, and it's a movie I really only have nitpicks for, which is not very common for the MCU movies. When I was walking out of this, I really, really liked it. And to be honest, I've only grown on it since then. It's only become more and more something I really like and really want to show people in my life. So with the modifier of genre fans only, I think I'm going to have to give it a must-watch twice. This is my favorite live-action Spider-Man since 2004. Braden, you have any closing thoughts? Spider-Man's webs. Yeah.
I get it from a certain point of view. I don't think that's where we were on. I'm trying to remember.
From a certain point of view.
Point of view. I'm not the only Jedi who's screwing with you.
It's such a great skit.